Welcome to Art and Soul Insider. I'm Barbara Lynn Burns, and I'm here to help you find your joy, your creativity, and calm through art and wellness. Whether it's exploring new supplies, guided meditations, or inspiring art projects, this is your space to recharge and create. So let's make more art and less stress together. Here we go. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome to another day of painting and enjoyment and shutting the world away. So today we are going to finish painting our work that we started last week, and then we're going to ink it. The inking is going to just define everything just a little bit more to make it that much more French kiss. So stick around for information. You know, the teacher in me, the art teacher in me, I always like to share little tips and tricks. And yeah, just sit in with a nice cup of tea or cup of joe and bring, if you want to follow along with me, that'd be wonderful. So let's get going. Yeah. Nice, huh? Oh, it looks like I'm gonna need more yellow. So, okay, sop that up. Okay, sop that up. A little bit more. There. Okay, gotta watch this spot now. Sometimes nice to have a plan, but as you can see, I didn't really know my plan either, or my colors. It wasn't not until I was actually doing the work that I was like, oh, right, yeah, let's do a gradation. And so we did the gradation of the yellow and I mean, it's not a pure blend gradation, right? It's a very much of a gradation where just the two colors meet and blend, right? We don't have like a pure sky type of thing that it's just everything blends so lovely one into another. This one's quite evident of where we start, where we end, that type of thing. You know, I would suggest with your flowers, do your favorite colors. I mean, I love greens and blues, but I think, oh, got lots of liquid in that one. I think I just wanted something a little different. Yeah. So the brightness really, it's beautiful, isn't it? Well, I think it's all due to the beautiful sun that we have. Boy, we're fortunate to have just the beautiful air that we breathe. You know, I mean, we need to improve that aspect, right? With the industries and everything. But boy, you know, I know in North America we're so I'm I feel so grateful to live here where, you know, the pollution is not as bad. Trying to make sure of getting orange at the base, right? And then comes up like that. And you'll find your little system. You notice I've changed my system. I've actually gone more, let's do a lot of yellow first, and then we come in and we do put the orange. So what's nice about this type of paint too is it will dry in your palette. So if I leave it like this, it'll dry. And so this is dried right here. I can activate it again with water. You see? Isn't that cool? Now, the last work I did in here, it was the Awakened Spring Tree. I noticed that it was warping the paper. Yeah. So I'm really looking out for it. And I know I can see some big kind of heaves in the paper. So I'm really looking at that. Yeah. Being aware of how it might affect my work. Now, when you're doing a wet on wet, and mine's really quite juicy here. Probably don't make it as juicy as what I have. And then also, don't move your work when it's in this state, because any sort of like tip like that, the gravity might take hold of it, and you've got a running daisy. At least the color's running, right? So you don't want that. So these centers, they're going to be pretty dark. I don't have a black. Now, yeah, so I'm going to choose another color, a dark color. Maybe I'll make a brown. And again, you can make browns by adding complementary colors together. So it could be a yellow with a purple. It could be, which is kind of how I remember it, Easter, right? You know, little yellow chicks and the purple bow, right? And then there is Christmas, red and green. So there's that one. And then there's what's called the Edmonton Oilers one. That it is our local team, or one of our teams in Alberta. We have two teams. One team is called the Edmonton Oilers, and the other one is called Calgary Flames. But it's the Edmonton Oilers colors, the blue and the orange, that we want to recognize as complementary colors that actually will then make a brown. So what works so well with this too is that we have spaces between each of these petals, right? So what we can do is we don't have to be as concerned as the colors blending into another. So I'm able to work on one petal, then go to the next, then go, and then continue like that, right? So there we go. So pretty. Now, what color? What color? Should I do a purple? Because the opposite of yellow, the greatest contrast you could have is a purple with the yellow, right? Also, another greatest contrast you could have is between the orange, and you could have a blue. You could have a purple going into a blue. That might be kind of nice. Let's do two purple, and the rest will be a purple into a blue. So we kind of I wanted it all warm colors, didn't I? That's what I said. Yeah, let's make it all warm colors. There you go. Okay, so here's our red. We'll need a little bit more. These are colors I don't usually use that often, but I got a little bit of the red there. Okay, just give it a little bit more, because I'm sure we'll need it, because we'll need to make some more purple, and especially that purple was more of an orange, not orangey, a red purple, a red violet. So let's go soak some up here and go like this. Now you can change your red by adding a complementary color. It can still be red, but you just add a touch of green to this. It'll be red, but it'll be a different kind of red. It'll be just a little, not as intense. I'm wanting my flowers to be really happy and intense. So yeah, I'm going to do them that way. So I'm going to paint this one red. Was it supposed to be red, or was it going purple? What was I doing? No, I said right. I was wanting warm, right? I was getting confused with my own little inner talk or outer talk with you, right? A good rule of thumb that I try and do is to listen to my intuition. You know, today I said I want to play with warm colors. And so that's what I'm doing. And who knows why? I think sometimes we need to try things that are a little bit out of our normal league, that we're not as, say, comfortable doing, right? Like this is a little different for me to use red with, warm colors. I'm much more of a kind of, you get your blues, your greens, your purples. That's my vibe. I like that. So doing this is good for me because it opens to my eyes to other possibilities. I got some little nicks of I forgot to do. So you got to make sure, try and cover all the way, except that, to your pencil lines. And take your time, especially when you're doing, well, all of the petals, but especially the smaller ones, because they have, just little tiny movements that are different. Like with the little bulge here, right? Got to get that in. Because that really makes it quite interesting. As I was talking about the organic shapes, right? Organic shapes are much more free-flowing, irregular. Well, geometric shapes are just that. You use math to create them, right? So it could be a triangle, it could be a circle, it could be a square. Those are geometric ones. And then we have these organic ones that add to the feel that, yes, these are flowers. They don't look like real flowers, but we know they're flowers because they have some certain symbols that we consider to have in flowers, right? People would have kind of a harder belief that, that this was a flower. They'd still see it as a flower, I think, in its use of shape. But say if we colored it green, our mind would go, what's up here? And that is what advertising does sometimes. They kind of mix things up in order to catch our eye because our brain says that's not right. And advertisement knows our brains are going to say that's not right. So they do these things to kind of get our attention. And again, talking about the complementary colors, they use those complementary colors to really get sometimes a message across because colors show an incredible amount of emotion. So, and being a marketing person, they would actually use specific colors to get their message across. So it's very cool, So, oops, that's way too much. Went way too much there. Oh, I smudged it there, see? Oh, I did that with my other one too. Maybe that's my little original piece that it's Barbara Burns is when I do a smudge like that. I could, once everything dries, try to lift it, or I could just leave it. Sometimes with something like this, the eye just kind of washes over it, doesn't really see it. I'm going to get a little paper towel. I like to have paper towel. I like using the cloth better because, it's recycling. But sometimes paper towel just does the job, right? Again, it's a little too liquidy. So I could take this, go like this, wrap it around, and see how it's absorbed? Yeah. So then I'd have much less liquid. See how it's lifted it? And yeah, just much more control that way. So again, if you find you have too much liquid, just use a paper towel or your towel and lift it that way. Now, talking about lifting, you know, that smudge thing that happened over here, but you can lift it. So the way you lift it is you let it completely dry. And then you get a completely cleaned brush. There needs to be absolutely no color in that brush. Okay? And then from that, you then go and take the brush, dip it in some clean water, and you take the clean water and you put it exactly on top of the color you want to lift. So what color is that? Well, it's that, you know, it's that red that we're trying to lift. Well, with that, okay, we are, I'm going to use actually the burnt orange with the red. Going to need a little bit more. So you put the clear water on top and let it sit for a bit. And what I use instead of my towel, I actually use paper towel, and I go and I lift. And you'll find, you know, depending, like this is a dye, so it might act different than a pigment. It might actually stay in there. So what we have to do is, you know, well, you try, but, you know, you're not guaranteed. So that's the thing with a dye. Dye, as you saw with my lovely palette here, it stained it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with staining. I don't mind it. But that just shows the power of a dye, right? And so the power of the dye might be really strong, right? That it might just want to stay in the pigment. And so it'll just be there. And it also depends on your paper. Okay, so is your paper, you know, is it rag? Does it have some rag, or is it 100% cotton? Yeah, you have to experiment these little things. Sometimes, you know, it's a good thing to take a piece of paper and test out how well does it lift, right? How well does it do this other thing, right? You try and see how well does it work on blending, and you know, then my lifting, and yeah, you just try your different techniques on it, and lo and behold, then you find out how that type of paper responds to that type of paint, right? It's just a little bit too placed there, so I'm going to just kind of bring my brush in and lift it up here. Oh wow, it really dried quick there. Watercolors dry according to, well, the air. So how is the air where you're living? Is it, now as I'm saying I live in Alberta. Alberta is a very, very dry province. It is very arid. So things dry pretty quick compared to, say, when I was living in Toronto. Toronto has all those Great Lakes near it, you know, and yeah, it's just completely different. I was completely different when I went to BC. My hair took forever to dry because of, well, the ocean's right there, right? So that's what you have to be aware of when you're painting too. And so you might go somewhere new to paint, and your usual techniques don't really work that well because you are, well, in a different type of climate. And that different type of climate can make a huge difference. This red is really quite a soft red. It's not like a a crimson or anything like that. It's quite, yeah, quite soft. So it blends very, it's much more of a subtle blend compared to the orange and the yellow. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was trying to say. I remember buying these, and it's like the kid in me was like, "Ooh, let's try these," and I was able to, have enough money that I was able to get what you see right now, and yeah, and they work the same, but again, they're a totally different product than normal watercolors. So I like the idea that you have color almost ready to go, really. You just add water, right? If you want it lighter. So, how do you like your orange? And, like they have much more colors. Like, as I mentioned when I was talking about them, they have 56 colors. So, they're going to have different kinds of oranges. One, this is a burnt orange, so it's deeper, right? Has that deepness to it. But, what kind of, there might be a softer orange, right? That you come to see. Yeah, it's very nice to work in with this point of, a round brush. Really gets, it's a bigger brush. You can cover a lot with it, but that point, that's when you're getting a watercolor brush, you have to ensure that it has a nice point. Because if it doesn't have a nice point, you're missing half well, not even half, I'd say the majority part of how that brush really works. I mean, the brush works in filling space as well, but it's that pointy, getting to that area of, specifics. That's pretty neat. Trying to cover all these areas. I'm a little further away, and my eyes are getting tired today. Ah, there you go. Ah, and my big finger, look at, I lifted it and then smudged it again. Oh, well. I say, oh, well, not that I don't care. I care a lot, actually. I want this to look good. But what can I do about it? Something doesn't work out. It's like, okay, and what can you do? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that lift, and we'll see. See if it works. If it doesn't, it's okay. This shows that a human being created it. It's not perfect. It's by the human hand. There should be some mistakes in it. At least the ones that maybe the artist can see, right? But would I rather have it perfect? Yes. You're talking to a type A personality here. You know what I mean? It's tough for me to have mistakes like this. Yeah, it really, it bothers me that it's not going to be white near the center. So, but what can I do, right? An option is I start again, right? Do a new one. And I can. I may. I actually kind of like this. This is can be a very meditative process. Naturally I'm talking all the way through it here. But boy, this could be really, really, really nice. Just focusing on your paintbrush, focusing on where you put your brush, in the spot, and just filling it with color, that one petal. That's pretty special. And then, focusing, cleaning your brush and dipping it in that other color, right? Just pretty cool stuff. I'm getting down to my red. I need more. Oh, we got some solid lines here. Look at that. See? I can't lift, But see right here. So what I can do is I can soften those because they are dry. So I can kind of do a blend. I'm hoping. Remember, dyes are not pigments. So I might, it doesn't look like I'm able to do that much with it. Very interesting. Because it's a dye and not a pigment. Because with watercolors, with pigments, I'm able to soften those lines. But you see, I'm not getting any softening with those lines. Interesting. That's very, so me lifting, it probably won't go well. So there we go. That's that's the thing about learning a new one. Like the other day, I with the gouache flowers, learning again a new different type of medium. And I learned a lot, things that person needs to still work on because you're just trying to learn to master those things, right? And the more you practice, the better you become. The little, especially, with drying times and stuff like that, because you work with it, you can, you'll know the drying times, like I said, that will be, okay, now I'm going to add paint. Like those type of things make a big difference to your art. Okay, there we go, and add another water. There we go. Just had to make some more red. Added too much red with that one, and not enough red for this one. Kind of turned the whole thing red. Drying my brush, I'm just going to bring a little bit. Almost took over all the orange. But it's nice doing things like this because then you can experiment with the medium that you're using. You can see, oh, okay, it works really well if I do this first. So, like I said, I'm trying. I'm doing numerous ones, right, of these petals. Then I go back and add the red. Because if I add the red too quick, it's just going to turn everything red or orangey red, right? So this way, I'm working, letting some drying time come in, and then with me, then I'm able to go in and alter it with the red. Okay, so now bringing in the red. Oh, yeah. Oh, and some of these lines are really not that great. Very edgy. I might go over them again. They're too edgy. Oh, that one kind of came all red. It just went boop. So drying my brush. Oh, it looks like it's kind of doing its own thing. Kind of two lines together. So I'm just going to bring it up. It's good to play. It's good to try something else. But it's really, as I mentioned before, meditative because, here in this one, there's lots of little bumps and things like that. Just to be able to focus it on one at a time and to do that, it's very relaxing. Like it just really does focus you, right? It it makes you go stop and really slow down. And if anything in our society, boy, we do things too much, don't we? Too fast, too soon. We don't give ourselves any breathing space. And looking back at doing this red, one thing I could have done to make it show up a little bit more is like what I said is alter the red a bit, right? So I could have altered the red and, sorry about my squeaky chair, but, you know, made it a little deeper or whatever. And that really would have changed things. Just a little bit more contrast between the orange and the red. So this is really liquidy, this orange. So I'm going to dry my brush and I'm going to lift some of that. There we go. Dry my brush, lift some of that. There we go. Then when I add the red, it's not going to be such a profusion of too much. There, because I'm adding a blob of color, right? And as we saw, you know, I'll still try to lift it, but as we saw, you really couldn't change things, could we? With that lines are still there, so it shows me that this does not lift and blend like you know, if I have a hard line in watercolors, my regular watercolors, I am very much, I can blend things a little bit more. This shows me this is a dye, and a dye acts completely different than a pigment. So big news, right? That's something cool to know. There we go. Okay. I'm going to go, these kind of faded, so they look not as strong. So I'm going to take that orange. I'm just going to go over this again. So again, glazing it. See that? Oh, that does a little bit of something. So I did lift the colors like somewhat. That's why I'm going over them. Boy, I wasn't very accurate with my lines today. I might have to go over this in with ink. We'll see. Now, I'm going to create a brown. So I'm going to take this red. Okay, there's that red. I'm going to add more red. And I'm going to take one of the greens. So I think I'm going to take the jungle green, right? Because the other one has a bit more yellow in it. And if I recall using it, it's significant. It has yellow. So remember, shake, shake, shake. So I'm creating a brown to do in all the insides, okay? Now, usually I do mine different each time, you know, like do it at like these colors will have a different one, but I'm going to just do them all brown. So I'm going to drop some green in there. Now, this is where we're just going to have to play and see. So that looks, oh, that looks kind of blacky, doesn't it? Yeah, okay, that might work. You know, because those black-eyed Susans are black in the center. Okay, I'm going to start from over here and work down. I have to be careful. It's wet here, it's wet here, and it's wet there. So, still, so with it being a black, I'm going to maybe do it a couple of coats, right? To get it deeper. You know, I'm okay just have some darker areas and lighter areas. Because to me, it'll show kind of, you know, the seeds or whatever that's there, right? So make sure you go all to the edge of what you drew. Because if anything, this is the color that might change that. You know, like that'll really cover the blue line, the charcoal in the lead. So I messed up in a few areas. So looking at it overall, I think it's very pretty. I think I like the colors. You know, I like the analogous colors that I used. Analogous means same side of the color wheel. And if you look at your color wheel, let's see if I can get one out. Do I have one? Oh, I have a mini one. If you look at a color wheel, the same sides always look good together. So I used red, I used orange, and I used yellow. They always look good together. You could do yellow, a green, and a blue. They would look good. It's just a matter of using one side and using those colors. Guaranteed they will look good. So that's kind of neat, right? It's just finding out what works best. And that's an easy way to know what colors really look good. Oh, this poor guy over here. This one's such a mess. Oh, well. Once everything's dry, as I said, I'm going to go and do that test and see if I can lift. But I have a feeling just what was happening over here, what I did, it's going to be a little, might be unsuccessful, right? So this, I see a little bit of purple when it dries. So I'm just going to just do another coat and it'll deepen it up. It's a good idea. This is a coat when it's dry. If it's wet, you're just going to be moving the paint over and over and over. So you want to make sure you're doing it when it's dry. This is somewhat wet, but it's actually working okay. Most of it is dry. Okay. Yeah, that's looking a little purple there. You can see the red in that one. Okay. Just giving it time to set. So with this, you have to be careful. Now, seeing this, a black outline might look really good with this because you have this dark area, right? Now, the only thing is this black might not look black compared to the black outline pen that I'm using. So you have to be aware of that. Now, I'm going to go on low heat and I'm going to go directly over because I don't want it going. I'm going to put my Dr. P.H. Martin paints to the side. And while I was blow drying, I decided I was going to add ink. So I'll just put that aside and let's get our ink pens out. So these are Micron Graphics. I got these from Temu. Yeah. And they're really, really good. Okay. So I'm going to go. Oh, I got some sprinkles of some paints there. Interesting. Or watercolors. So I'm going to go with a 5. Okay. So a 5 is about that thick. I got some. It's not a very big nib. Okay, it's not a. It's okay. How come it's so small? Let's go and look at the 4. I'm talking about small lengthwise, not widthwise. I know. So this is a 4. Yeah, you see, this one has much longer than this one. You see? You see how this one's just almost completely shot down? I'm going to use the 4. It's just has a longer bit to it. Okay, so I'm going to do my lines over. So like I said, there's options of doing this compared to how I did. The one thing you could have started off with to make it completely different is to really hide these pencil lines. So hiding those pencil lines, we could have used that kneadable eraser, right? but I didn't have that. But, you know, in the future, if you find one and you want to do this over and try it, you know, you're going to see that it's not going to look at all the way this one looks, because the pencil lines will be much softer and hardly visible. So all you're really going to see is the color, right? You know, and then again, all the steps can make it different. We could have focused just painting the negative space. So the negative space, remember, is the space surrounding the objects. Or the positive will be the petals, right? And the center of your flower. Everything else is negative space. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, you could have made it look really, really different by just painting the negative space. A lot of times people, you know, if you really want to make something really different, focus on your negative space, you know, and do that, and you're going to find your work is going to be quite different. So another option to make it different is the colors you choose. So I chose warm colors. I wanted warm colors for my petals. So that completely changes the look compared to maybe using a rainbow of colors. Or I could have used just all cool colors, right? The look changed completely just by how I did the center of the flowers. You know, I could have done them brown. I mean, this one I was making brown, but boy, it sure went black on me. So, but again, just there's so many options. Another option is instead of a white background, and again, kind of focusing on your negative space, you could actually say cover your your paper with newspaper articles. You know, it could be just one big news thing collaged on, or it could be a whole bunch of different pieces done. Do that, then on a separate sheet, paint these, and then take the time and cut all of these out individually and then place them on that collaged newspaper. What a completely different look. So you see, there's so many possibilities when we do things. Um, Sometimes we limit ourselves because we just do the same old thing as normal. So, you know, it just made me think that one day I think we're going to do something with a very funky negative space. Yeah, I think we'll do that because it really does change your work. It doesn't look anything like what we have. What we have is, you know, much more expected, right? Kind of you're drawing flowers. Okay, yeah, there's white space around it, but you know, you're doing the flowers. Very basic. Yeah, we have to be open to the possibilities. And, you know, it applies in art, but it also applies in our life, right? What are you opening yourself up to? Because we can sometimes really um, shut the world down by just being a little bit more doing things as we've normally done, right? So now, with me inking this, I can't go over and try and lift these areas. I've I've basically have letting that go. Now, um, I might try on a different piece of paper, but I kind of suspect it's going to stay the same. Yeah. So. that's the way things go sometimes, right? And that's the thing about learning a new medium, even though this is watercolors and we know watercolors. I know watercolors, but with this being a dye instead of a pigment, it operated completely different. Now, if you're interested in something like this with a liquid, you can still get Dr. P.H. Martin's liquid stuff, but you'd actually go and get let me try and remember or look at my sheet. I'm looking at my sheet here, and that is the Hydrus. You want the Hydrus because that is pigment. Okay? So you'll still get these wonderful, vibrant colors. You'll still have the liquid feel, but it will be with pigment, not with dye. And again, as expected, dye operates completely different than pigment. So what I'm doing is I am actually just circling the lines that I drew. So some of my brushwork wasn't the best in this one, so I did go over in a few areas, but I'm just leaving it, So when I draw the line, I'm actually going to be drawing kind of sometimes in between, like, so I've got my line, but then the paint goes beyond that, and that's okay. And I'll show you a close-up just to show you, just there's quite a few that I'm just, my brushwork wasn't necessarily the best, and that's okay. Some days are better than others, and I think we need to give ourselves grace in that. A lot of times in the past, I would just be very hard on myself, and I'd come down on myself and kind of berate myself, saying, "Oh, look what you did. Why didn't you go slower? Or why, just all those thoughts that goes through your head when you don't do things the way you think you should. And the end results don't match how you wanted it to appear. So you just have to, I find it's easier to be gentle on myself. It takes practice though. I was very much the person that was harder on myself. I would be much more lenient with another person or one of my students, saying, "It's okay, don't worry about it." But with myself, it was another story. So, yeah, I think we just have to be aware of, well, being kinder to ourselves. Sometimes we set agendas even in our lives of, I got to get this done, this done, this done, this done. But life happens sometimes, and we don't meet all the stuff on our to-do list, and that's okay. That's life. I have just finished creating a really neat course. It's called Creative Calm, 7-day art and affirmation reset. So basically, you're taking 7 days just to spend 10 to 15 minutes on yourself to kind of reconnect with your creativity and reconnect with, well, being kind and gentle with yourself. So I have kind of a basic version of it. So that is called the intro bundle. And it contains an art prompt for the day. And the art prompt isn't necessary. Well, I know it's not about perfection or anything like that. It is basically something that's very easy. You don't have to be an artist to do it.
anyone can do it. So we've got that, the art prompt, and then what we have is an affirmation for that day that you can say to yourself to just kind of improve just your self-talk and that type of thing. And then after that, I provide you a grounding tip or a breathing technique. And that you really focus on your breathing or focus on kind of feeling grounded and set and ready for the day. You can do this in the morning. You can do this at night. Some people do it at their breaks times. There's lots of different options of when you can do this. It's whenever you have a little bit of time, and literally 10 to 15 minutes maximum. And then also with the basic bundle, you get each day you get a printable art template, which is kind of like that you can do the art prompt on. So, and like you can print these off and have one for every day, but I do provide one for every day. But you can copy them once we're finished the 7-day art and affirmation reset. You can print them out and use them still because it's lifetime access. You have it. Then there is the deluxe version. I call this the full experience. So the full experience it gets an art prompt in the morning. It gets an affirmation. It gets a breathing technique or a grounding technique. It also gets the sheet that for the art journal that was provided. And then it gets these extras. I have a Spotify playlist for each day that you can listen to while you're doing your stuff, like your art prompt and affirmations, or you can listen to it later or whenever you want. Then the other thing is you get a love note from me. So it's an audio support. So it's a love note. It doesn't take, it's like, maybe 1 to 2 minutes of me sharing something in your ear. Also, it could be actually a guided stillness, which is basically a guided meditation. And again, that's for 1 to 2 minutes. So very, very simple, very, very easy for you to do. And then on top of that, you get 22 pages of art journal templates that are printable and that you can use them. Some of them are in wonderful color. Like there's a couple of them that are like in rainbow colors. And oh, I love them. I was like, yep, those are going to be part of the bundle just because they're awesome. Yeah, so and then yeah, you just get all that for really an economical price. If you want the intro bundle, that's only $12, right? And if you want the full experience, that's $27. And this is in Canadian dollars. So if you're an American, boy, that's a steal. Thanks to our dollar being a little lower than yours. So yeah, so you can enjoy this for quite a discount. Yeah, so if you're interested in it, go to the webpage www.barbaralynnburns.com /creative-com. And it'll take you to the webpage and it'll be right there. There's more information, there for you. But yeah, to me, it's like a no-brainer. It's a great opportunity just to still our minds and just to be good to ourselves. So, yeah. So if you're interested, just pop on by. I would love to have you enjoy the reset. And some people are finding it, so effective that they do it again, right? It's just a moment for you because you give so much to so many people. So that is the time, that 10 to 15 minutes that we're carving out for you. And yeah, just you. Because we forget about ourselves, don't we, sometimes? I mean, we hold so many things close to our hearts, and we love our families, and we love our work, and we love so many things. But sometimes we're just so giving in every department that we forget about ourselves. This is a time that you can be with yourself, just relax, just reconnect with yourself. Reconnect with yourself, just in your creations, just in your affirmations, just in that quiet time that you have just to do those art prompts. Yeah, it's really special to do that, I think, because we need to do that. Part of what makes us stronger and better for others is if we actually do take time for ourselves. A lot of people view, oh, well, that's just a lot of extra time I just don't have to do. But studies have shown that when you actually take breaks and you get to renew yourself, then what happens is you are just that much more stronger, that much more capable to do and to deal with things that that are on your list, right? Or that people call you in the middle of the night and they need you, right? That's okay. But it's these connections, these 7-day type of things where you can actually reconnect with yourself and have a little bit of breathing space, just like what you're doing here, which I really commend you for. It just will set you off in a stronger and better way. So, yeah. Okay, so here we go. I don't think we need another black. I'm thinking we're okay with our situation with our insides of our lovely, lovely, lovely thing. I think the outlining helped it, yeah. So let us unveil. Oh, so remember with the tape, it ripped it here, so take it at an angle and go slow. I always forget. I get so excited, Are you like that? Yeah. So again, you get to decide which way you would like it displayed. So, which way you turn it, the way that you're happiest with, what you're going to do is then sign it on the bottom right-hand corner. Because it doesn't need to go like this, right? It could go another way. There you go. Well, little leaks here and there, but not too bad. Okay. So, you go like here. You like it like that? Sign it right here. You like it like this? Sign it right here. You like it like that? Sign it there. Right? So there you go. There you go.